And welcome back to the Positively Jacked podcast, where we dish real-time strategies on nutrition, fitness, wellness, and lifestyle trends to prioritize positive psychological habits and best practices.
And today we're not scripted.
We are not scripted. We are moderately prepared. Through our decade plus experience with the particular subject at hand. It is the eve of the 2024 CrossFit Open.
Happy Open Eve.
Happy Open Eve. Very cool discussion I had today. Somebody asked me, how many Opens have you done?
Oh, gosh.
And my response was, except for last year, because I had an injury, all of them. And they said, what do you mean all of them? And I said, I was doing competitive CrossFit before there was an Open. And there's a lot of people that didn't realize there was competitive CrossFit done a particular way well before the Open.
Yeah. It shows your age a little bit. It's like when you said earlier today, somebody asked how long it took me to get arms that looked like this. And I'm like, well, 13 years this September. And you're like, wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I've done 12 Opens.
You have. Yes, you have. And those arms show it. We had one other person in our 430 class comment on your arms, by the way.
Oh, really?
From that post. And it was a gentleman. Who was it? They're working out with Tina. I can't quite remember who it was, but they were just that we had said something about looking buff from today's workout. And they were like, am I going to look as buff as Jess did? That is a tall bar.
Yeah. No, I mean, not really. No. I said yeah before I say no, because that's just how I respond to things as a Midwesterner. But for those of you who don't know, I took a meeting yesterday, a Google Meet from my boss in the middle of a workout, because that's just life right now. And she was like, what are you doing? And she was like, oh my God, your arms. And she like snapped a screenshot. Yeah, that pull-up cycle is not a joke.
No, I love how you struck like the Rosie the Riveter pose, but made Rosie the Riveter look like she needed to step her game.
A weeping infant.
Yeah, a little bit. That was a historical flex.
Yeah, that might have to be my new profile photo.
I support that.
It says everything about life right now.
I'm in a meeting and I'm flexing.
I'm at the meeting at Lifetime.
I love it.
So back to the Open.
The 2024 CrossFit Games Open. It started in 2011, right? Yeah, 2011 was the first one.
Yep.
Yeah, and were you at the gym at that time?
I joined in September of 2011, so I missed that first Open. My first Open was 2012.
Gotcha. Okay.
So 12.1 was my first Open workout, which was 7 minutes of burpees.
Well, that was the first Open then.
Was it?
2012. Yeah, I believe so, because 7 minutes of burpees was definitely the first Open workout.
I felt like there was one more before it. This is us saying we know a lot about the Open, but apparently we don't know our history.
I honestly think what this is our age showing through it, that we've done so many of them, we just can't quite remember the year.
Yeah, so. I definitely remember which were some of the worst, and 12 or 7 minutes of burpees literally made me shit myself. So
what I loved most about that was how do you remember the promo that they did when they released that workout?
Yeah.
It was the Open workout announcement. It was like a pre-recorded, almost like commercial for CrossFit. And it was people running around and getting their Sisu hammers, their kettlebells, their chains, all this stuff, altitude masks when Rogue sold those.
Yeah.
And then everybody piles in and it's 7 minutes of burpees.
Yep.
And everybody was just like, huh.
It was like the ultimate troll. It was the ultimate troll.
That well played. It was it was 2011. It said 2011. More than 26,000 people worldwide.
Okay. So I rounded out in the second Open.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before we were at Big Bear.
Well, that was
for 2012. We had just moved into Big Bear.
Moved into Big Bear. Yeah.
We didn't have mats yet.
Nope.
So I did 7 minutes of burpees on concrete to a target that was fencing that we made into a pull-up rig.
No, that was actually a pull-up rig that we had bought.
It felt like metal fencing.
No, it was from Rage Fitness in Colorado, and it was galvanized pipe that was 2 inches thick.
Yeah. So it was like a fat bar, basically. Yeah,
it really was. It really was. And I remember that was also the first year that people realized that you could cheat at CrossFit.
Yeah. Which I guess,
Well, from the competitive side, everybody knew that there was going to be a problem with the Open at some point because it was an online qualifier. So for anybody who doesn't know, prior to the Open starting, the way you qualified for the CrossFit Games, other than the years where they just let people show up, was you had a sanctional, which was somewhere near your city, right? And then you had a regional that you qualified from the sanctional, and then regionals would qualify you for the games.
Yep.
And so in 2011, they said they were going to bring it as an online qualifier to make it to regionals, and they had the 7 minutes of burpees. And what was astonishing was the lengths people would go to get a 1 rep advantage on the burpees. My favorite was the person who posted up, I believe it was within the 150s to 160s. And they did it at a gymnastics studio. They piled soft boxes up and put a soft box above them for the height requirement. I believe it was 6 inches outside of your reach. And they did it on a springboard. And so they were literally just bouncing chest off of a springboard, jumping up, touching the target for 7 straight minutes.
I have no words for the amount of effort it took just to cheat a simple movement. It was a 1 movement workout.
People would go at incredible lengths when
there wasn't kind of video verification of the system to do anything about it.
I don't think there was. Well, that was also the years where, I hate to say it, but I'll just say the dude that I do not like talking about because I think he's a crappy villain for CrossFit. It was kind of his content heyday because he would call people out in those years. Yeah.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, I don't. CrossFit's got enough problems between growing and the sport and stuff like that. You don't need a villain who misogynistically calls people out for clickbait. Like, I don't agree with that.
Don't take that at all.
But yeah,
so that's 12. That's 12.1. So that was not my worst one. But what was your worst one?
Worst open workout or worst open?
Oh, you fell out of both. Okay. First, let's do workout.
So worst open workout. It's so hard to choose from because I constantly tried to compete. But I would probably say the worst open workout, in my opinion, is the 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3 thrusters and bar facing burpees.
That's my worst one.
Yeah, because in 2014, when that debuted, that was when Dave removed the time cap. And you had to post a time. You could not get saved by the time cap, which was what a lot of people ended up having on certain workouts. And the fact that you did not have a time cap meant that every second you earned on that workout was just how bad you wanted it, how many times you wanted to repeat it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awful. And there's just something about either thrusters and pull-ups or thrusters and burpees that just something happens inside the body that does not happen with any other combination of movements. It's the worst for me every time.
I think it was incredibly creative, but to a point that I also think that Echo Bike is creative in that no matter how new or unskilled you are, you can't not redline at that due to effort.
Yep. Right? Your heart rate just jacks.
Skill for you to worry about. It was squatting into a press and it was laying down and getting up.
Yep.
And nobody had really any reasons they could not push the throttle on that workout. And that was why I hate it to this day. I still think it's an incredibly effective test. I just hate it because it was so bad. I'm 6'2". I have long arms. A thruster for me goes a decent amount of distance, and that workout was probably one of if not, I think, the toughest.
Yeah, I think it's that moment, I think, in the third round where you're like, I'm not even halfway yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you've gone out, because you start with the highest number, you of course go unbroken the first 2 rounds, let's say on the thrusters. And you're like, you have that horrible music in your head. Oh no, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Like,
it was at that moment.
He knew he had fucked up. Bad choices. And then you knew you just had this, because there's no time cap. You're not like, well, I'll let the time play out. You're like, no. Nope. We gotta finish it. The only worst workout for me ever was Kalsu.
Oh.
Kalsu at HOA with Hannah.
Yeah.
Where I'm pretty sure I went blind and she fell down the ramp, leaving CrossFit Springfield out the back.
Yep.
We went
for a reason.
We went to a bad place.
I mean, that is we're also mid-competition. There's so many factors.
No, it was the second workout of the whole weekend where we were like, when he knew he fucked up.
Competition, I don't care who you are. If you're at a competition and those workouts pop up, everybody can go into it with a plan. Your adrenaline says, screw your plan. You're going to go into the last gear and just keep cranking.
The ego takes over. It's not even my adrenaline. It's pure ego. I'm like, don't be last.
Speaking of egos, one of my worst workouts, because I almost lost several people from the gym, was the first time they came out with that 150 wall balls. It was 150 wall balls, 90
double unders, 30 muscle ups.
30 ring muscle ups.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That was one of the years that I had probably trained the hardest for CrossFit.
Yep.
And I did really well on the wall balls. I did really well on the double unders. And I do not know why. Just muscle up turnovers were not happening. And that was the year that I kicked a chair and had to stop you from driving.
Almost lost your best friend.
Almost lost my best friend. Due to being an overly competitive, young, cocky kid.
I remember that one because Eric and I did it together. And after we're getting ready to go to the car and we're walking to the car and she was like, Jess, I don't think I can drive home yet. It was like having a drunk moment where you're like, I'm not safe to drive. And we had to go sit on the couch for 30 minutes before we felt quote unquote sober enough to drive home safely.
There's something to be said for, before we get too into the weeds of how many open workouts have damn near crippled us. There's something to be said about these open workouts. A lot of people who are newer to CrossFit, very few people that we know for the most part have the length of CrossFit experience that we do. Yeah. This was also when CrossFit had a puking clown as a mascot. This is also when tearing your hands in pull-ups was a badge of honor. Yeah. It was the way more adolescent phase of CrossFit. So your effort and selling out to fall down on the floor at the end of the workout was just how it was done.
Yeah, it definitely, the OG vibe was always how dumb it wasn't how dumb you can be, but I feel like now the language that you'll hear on most podcasts around the open is how much you can optimize, how much you can control your controllable factors. And back then there was this element of go for broke, get stupid, let it hang out. Yeah. Do whatever you got to do and do it as many times as you can do it. There was no real strategy or being smart about it.
It was a sport, but it wasn't approached like one.
No,
not by the masses at that time.
No. And I think there's something to be said for that, I'm sure. But, when we talk about it now, since we have so many audiences, I feel like the open now caters for. Yeah. The language has to be different. The conversation has to be different.
Right. To be viewed as a legitimate sport, that was a necessary evolution of it.
Or if you say that, it's inclusive and for everyone and anybody can do it, and here's all the versions of the workout we'll put out for you, you have to kind of use a dialogue that doesn't include a puking clown.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, don't get me wrong, I still got my Pukey the Clown shirt. I still got Kels has my medium t-shirt whenever I fit into a medium t-shirt that said unfuckwithable across the chest.
I do remember that shirt. I remember the year they went to Montana and everybody had that shirt.
I love that shirt. That was one of my favorite OG CrossFit shirts back in the day. Okay, so instead of the workouts that just destroyed us, what was your favorite open workout or favorite open memory?
Oh gosh. I mean, I did it pregnant. I did it in early second trimester. I don't know if that's my favorite memory. I remember feeling just like I was missing the open partially. So a little bit of both, a little bit of wow, I can still do this. I don't know. I think the year I was the fittest was 2020.
Yeah.
Right before we went into lockdown was the fittest I'd ever been. And I remember it was the workout I think it was the last one with muscle ups.
I don't know. We can research.
Either way.
Either way. Such a funky year.
Yeah, I did because wasn't it like a double or something? Either way, I did 18 plus muscle ups in a workout, which is the most I'd ever done. And I did some of them in groups of 3, which was a huge, huge accomplishment for me.
It was 40 muscle ups, 80 cal row, 120 wall balls.
Yeah.
Workout 5 from 2020.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a rough one.
Anything with a muscle up usually is my happy spot because those still feel amazing.
Because you got
even
arms
at 41.
Like
because I got gorilla arms apparently. I think those were special years. I think the first year we combined, for those of you who don't know, we had 2 locations and we combined them into one. That year was pretty special too.
Yeah, it just big felt unification of community.
Yep, it was 2018.
Yeah, I think because it was just before I had moved back.
Yep, and it was just such a cool moment to see so many people in one spot and feel like, wow, we'd done something.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Favorite open year was the year that led me to doing regionals. It was 2018. Or was that 17? Wait a second. No, it was 18. So
yeah, it was 18.
Yeah, no,
that was a big year.
The year I was at Alpine. I had always tried years before to do individual or team and stuff like that, and it was just always a little bit short. I mean, it was one of those times like job wise, coaching wise, was just lined up enough to where I had the free time to actually eat and train the way I should have.
Yeah.
And
I don't think enough people know how many years you really worked toward that. I think most of us would have given you all of our athleticism and strength if it would have pushed you over the edge because you just work so hard for it.
I spent a lot of hours, a lot of money, and tried to do so many things at once, silly enough. And finally, I came 2 years off of just weightlifting and did some great things in weightlifting. I was super happy with that. But I had just gotten hired on the year prior at Alpine. And that 2017 Open actually made me angry because of how out of shape in CrossFit I was.
I beat you at a workout when I came to visit.
Oh yeah.
And I was oh my God, I just beat him.
But I built my strength numbers. I'm like, I basically told myself, even at 80%, my strength would be among some of the top. And so that spring, hired a coach and went through the end of the year, got our old intern Craig, who was a dietitian for Utah at the time, got him to do nutrition for me, went into the fall and just trained, eat, slept, did my job. And then we came around and it was like, oh, wow, we actually have the makings of a team.
Yeah.
We had 2 people who had been on regional teams before. We had 1 or 2 people new to the gym that were incredibly fit and had a regimen. Workout was released Thursday, gave it a dry run on Friday, rested, did some stuff on Saturday, full rest day on Sunday, second attempt on Monday, like clockwork. And we qualified. It was super cool. And I got to go to regionals on a team, something that I had been wanting to do since I started CrossFit in 2008. And it was every bit as excruciatingly difficult at regionals as I would have expected. And
I think I've watched it like 10 times. I think I've watched that entire regionals. I've had to have watched it 10 times.
I've only watched the footage ever so often, and I don't think I've watched maybe 3 of the full events, but as I'm watching, it's so nuts to me because in the moment, everything moved so fast.
Yeah.
Just so fast. And you learn some dynamics behind the competition. Like, you know, I'm still to this day pissed because they gave us the wrong call time, and like we get the brief for the first workout of regionals and we're so excited because it's that handstand walking ramp. We've been practicing all this other stuff. We're the first heat and they're like, hey, we misjudged the time. You guys got to get in the corrals. Like every single one of the members on our team had one attempt to try to go across the new apparatus. Everybody else got half an hour or more. Yeah, I was.
See, I don't remember that.
Yep, it was double unders, overhead squats, handstand walk, and we were the first heat, and they misappropriated our time, and so we literally ran over before they like shouted at us to get in the corrals and tried it each once, and that was it.
I just remember your face during the worms and the deadlift.
The deadlift workout was our highest placement. I think we placed ninth or 10th, and I feel like a jerk now, but when I was done and our other teammates went, I laid on my back and put my legs up on the chest piece because I was about to pass out.
Yeah. Oh, you looked every bit of it.
Yeah, that was one of the worst pains I've ever had in my life.
Deadlift so fit. Bike sprint. So fit. You're so fit. But that just...
Yep.
That was awful.
I think the thing I was most proud about that open wasn't just the fact that we qualified. I love the fact that we qualified, but there was a strength workout that 10 down to 1 dumbbell squats and bar facing burpees, and then you had to do a max clean. Well, my max clean was good. It was 318 pounds. It wasn't bad, but we had 2 guys on our team that scored way higher on the clean. So I actually had to, weirdly enough, be put into the fitness spot and not the strength bias spot to get us a better time for the burpees. And I did, and I was actually our top time from our guys that year. And then in the same year, I was one of our top performers on another workout that had nothing to do with strength. It was all gymnastics. It was
which is hilarious.
100 dubs, ring muscle ups, and stuff like that. And I think that's why I was most proud of that year, because I was good on my team for stuff other than strength.
Yeah.
And so that was a good year. I'm very happy that I got to do it. And my God, I don't know if I could ever put my body through something like that again.
I think there's a point where you're just like, no, it's not where I am right now. I don't need to feel like that. There are other things that have to have priority. Yeah. So, but that being said, we're going into the Open. What is your advice for competitors?
Competitors.
What should people keep top of mind?
Recover.
Yeah.
If you're a competitor right now, 2 things happened in the off season that really benefit you. One, like putting it to a top 25% was massive, right? It was originally top 10% that you made and qualified and went on to quarterfinals, stuff like that. When they changed it to top 25%, it was one of those times where it was like, okay, cool. If you have been on the cusp, you just were gifted a big favor, right? You just opened up the field dramatically. And then the other thing is that Dave and them are really understanding that the Open needs to be a community-driven piece. And in that, there is some simplicity that you can expect during the Open, certain loads that you can expect during the Open. And I'm not saying that I'm like predicting that to be exactly the case, but there are certain confines to the Open that you can prepare for. It has to be done in the gym. It has to be done in a class setting. It has to be, footprint wise, has to be considering both of those factors. So when you're an athlete during the Open right now, if you are competing in CrossFit and you are going into the CrossFit Open, do the workouts once, give them the best effort you can, because top 25%, like you should not need to detract 2 days of training for one workout, considering that quarterfinals is a month after, not even. Like you should be training your continued training through the Open for quarterfinals. And if you're doing that appropriately, you need to recover. Now is the time where the stress is usually the highest, but the gravity of your position coming out of the open is way less.
Yeah. Well, I think with recover, it's, if you kind of drill down, double click into that, it's think of all your routines that have made you successful in the past year as you've been training to prepare. How many of those can you hold steady and keep consistently? And then it's also, there are variables that change during the open for sure. You might decide to do Friday night lights, which is a different training time than normal. So consciously thinking about those and adapting your recovery routines to meet those where they are.
Yeah.
I feel like is really kind of the double click into recovery.
Maximize
Obviously,
recovery.
Sleep.
That's the art of CrossFit, turning what would be otherwise anaerobic, aerobic, and recover.
Yeah.
What would you advise to Gen Pop? We've gone to the competitor side, which is fine. They're great people. But what would you advise to Gen Pop? Because Gen Pop makes up the majority of the participants.
I think, Gen Pop is a really broad audience compared to competitors, right? And everybody's coming into it with a different situation. I'm coming into it working 50 plus hours a week. Other people might be cruising their week and coming into it. So everybody's preparation looks different. But I think the recovery advice still stands. I also think, taking a moment and reading through these workouts when they're announced, because, they always put out the one sheeter of like standards and the movements and how they should look, because sometimes those change year to year, handstand push-ups being a key example. And just read through it and think about every piece of it. What's the time domain we're looking at? Is it an 8-minute workout? Is it a 20-minute workout? Those feel different. And start to think about what that feels like for you and what that should look like for you. And ask for help. Ask for advice. Coaches are always around, especially our coaches. They love to talk about it. And then I think
podcasts over it.
And we even make podcasts randomly because we decided to do this on Monday. I think that part, just really dig into it and learn more about yourself as an athlete by reading those briefings and asking for help. And then I think, don't make more out of it than it is. If you're a Gen Pop, go into it with the idea of what is most important about this. If it's getting a certain movement for the first time or attempting something new, is it just trying to get a couple more of a movement that's somewhat newer, but you have, is it the community aspect? Are you doing an intramural? Is it just completing all of the workouts? Sometimes for a lot of us, just getting to all of those open workouts for 3 weeks is the challenge.
That's my challenge. Like I had mentioned earlier, I didn't do last year because I had nerve issues in my back, and it was one of those things. Could I have white knuckled it? Sure.
Yeah. I think it's be smart. Remember why you're doing it. Just trying to figure out my camera. There we go.
No, I think that's right. And the biggest thing I would say to most Gen Pop, whether you've done it in the past or you haven't, have fun.
Yeah.
It's the whole, while I understand that it is the start or kickoff to the CrossFit Games season, which is amazing. It's amazing to say that you train in a facility that has a sport and you do similar movements next to people that do it as a sport. That's an amazing thing. But the Open is designed to show you how this worldwide fitness movement gathers people together with this commonality, that you guys love to push, you love to make fitness a priority in your life. And looking at the numbers, I think at the peak, it was close to 500,000 people worldwide doing the Open, which it's like, that is just on every continent. So to know that in the same weekend, you and 500,000 other people are doing these workouts simply because you enjoy fitness that much.
Yeah. And it's gotten so inclusive. I mean, it's like first responders have their own CrossFit groups. There's over 800 CrossFitters at my company. We have our own Slack channel. We're all over the world. Like, it's such a cool thing to connect over.
The adaptive division has their own Open announcements this year, and they have categorizations for different, classes. And like, who would have thought that there was going to be a online fitness competition where if you could literally have in the same heat of your gym a 13-year-old person, a 60, 70-year-old person, a mom in her 30s, an amputee, a wheelchair athlete.
Yep.
Like, you could have all of those people, and they're all doing the same workout, and it's designed so they all get a similar, if not the same, intensity.
Yeah. I think we've almost had all of those audiences in our gym at one point or the other. I remember one year we had 77-year-old, we had Boone Kitsy, and we had an adaptive athlete with limb difference, and then every age group in between. It's such a cool thing, and I think even now they have different scales for no equipment even. So if you're traveling for work, hop on down to the Hyatt hotel gym, and you can still get the workout done. And you can still participate. It's just so cool. It's fun. It's meant to be fun. Even competing, it's meant to be fun. So that's a big one for everybody. Competitors and Gen Pop, have a blast. Have an absolute blast. Make it so much fun. If you're a competitor, there's nothing wrong with having fun and competing. Yeah. You can't, I mean, if you're a Gen Pop person, you can't screw up if you show up. I like that. You can't screw up. Yeah, you can't screw up if you show up and do it. Like, if your mic wasn't attached, it'd be a drop. like, if it wasn't attached to this desk via arm, it would be cool. Oh, I love that. What would you say before we get into our last little our game? Our little game. What would you say? So, one thing I've noticed with the CrossFit Open, and it's not by any fault. It's just people feel this immense pressure, right? That kind of takes away and robs away from that fun. For somebody who's wanting to get to the other side of the Open and I guess feel like they've learned something, get a little bit more self-actualization, self-awareness to it. If there's anything you give them an advice piece other than the have fun and other than the reach out, what would it be? For me, it's always the drive home. Of how do I, the conversation I have with myself after, or the conversation I have with you after. How did that go? What did I feel? What would I have done differently? Because you're always going to want to have done something differently. What do I have to work on? What's an opportunity for me after this is all over to get better? Yeah. And that can happen for any audience. That can happen for any athlete. I'm 42 here next week. So, with arms that everyone envy. Gotta have something to work with. I love it. No. But yeah, I think it's the conversation you have with yourself after. And it's the conversation you should honestly be having with yourself all the time. How can I get better? Yeah. How can I get a little bit better today? Yep. I like that. That's a good one. What about you? In order to decrease the pressure, just understand why you're signing up. Yeah. Right. And when you're going through these workouts, there's a lot of pressure around, am I RXing it? Am I scaling it? Am I doing my age group? This, that, and the other. The goal with the Open is for you to test yourself. Right. Yeah. Now, some people see that and they're saying I want to test myself. I want to get my first muscle up. Not saying that's not an amazing goal, but also if you haven't built the foundation to get a muscle up, maybe your goal isn't to get a muscle up during the Open. Maybe your goal is to do a scaled workout and be the top scaled athlete in your gym, or scale on some and then the one pops up for the opportunity of RX, go for that RX one, saying you've done an RX Open workout. But don't go into it with expectations that aren't your own. That's a big one, because people get caught up in that hype about, qualifying or first muscle up or this skill showing up or this. And it's I've watched people do amazing things in a scaled version of a workout. That doesn't discredit them. That doesn't take away how profound they could be for somebody. Well, I think, even if they don't have profound goals as far as placement, I think there's always that moment of, and I've had it too, even at this many years in, is you're driving to the gym, it's the Open workout, you're going to Friday Night Lights, and you have that feeling of, are people going to see me as fit as I think I am?
Right.
Or am I going to show up and it's going to be reflected of all the work I've done? Or, is that carrot I chase going to be the carrot I catch up to? Or, like all those things about perception. And I think you just have to kind of let that go and run your own race and live inside your head in a good way for a moment of all the work, all the enjoyment, and leave it on the floor in that moment where you've worked really hard, and let the hard work be the outcome that you're excited about.
I really like that a lot because that ties in to something that I've always loved about CrossFit and in general, like barbell sport, or like throwing and track and field, is that it's never truly you against another person. It's you against a former self. Yeah. Right. I want to lift this because my former self couldn't. I want to be able to do this because my former self couldn't. And it's a really, I love looking at sport that way. Yeah. Yeah. And I think going back to kind of what you said, it's, what's the smart outcome here? Mm-hmm. If you're not ready for your first muscle up and this isn't the time, can you get to the point where you would get a muscle up, taking that workout with the wall, 150 wall balls, 90 double unders. I didn't get a muscle up that year. I didn't have them yet. And I think our muscle up rings were really dangerous, to be honest. There was one time, was it Tyler that yanked it right out of the ceiling? He yanked it right out of the ceiling. Yeah. So I wasn't going to go there because, smart athlete. I'm like, I need my arms. I don't know. And I'm sitting here like, screw it. Take both my arms as long as I get a good time. Note my time. Note my time and then drive me to the hospital, please. Stick it in the pocket. That was the year I was like, I'm just going to go as fast as I can, and I'm going to note my time and how many minutes I would have had left to do muscle ups. And that's the accomplishment. And I think kind of cultivating that idea around what's the smart win here. Yeah. Not the smart win or the win that looks good to everybody else. It's what's my smart win look like today. I like that. Those are good. That's really good for anybody. 5 hours of meetings and hopping on a podcast we decided to record on Monday. Oh, I love it. Hey, some of our best conversations are off the cuff. It's true. Wow. And true to that, we've decided to play a game. Yes. So this is huge shout out to, Pat and Boz, which, what is it? Very not random. Great podcast by those two. Pat Sherwood was actually my flow master in 2008. No big deal. Oh, I want to meet that man so badly. And then Boz was also really kind at last year's semis. Like he was just walking around while events were going on, and he looked so at peace. Yep. And I'm just like, I'm sure he's crazed inside, but he's a really sweet guy. He's been around a long time. But they posted on their podcast 20 questions. And do you just want to go back and forth? Like you ask one, I ask one? Yeah. 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 All right. Yeah. Or you don't want to try to answer? You don't want to try to have both of us answer we can both each question. But I like being able to actually ask you questions and see your reaction. I don't want to be one of us always answering. That's true. Right? We'll flip who asks, but we'll both answer. Okay. So first one for you: power lifts or Olympic lifts for the rest of your life? Olympic lifts for sure. Okay. Same. Realistically, let's be real here. The split jerk is my favorite movement of all time, and it will never change. Yeah, I don't think I could ever, even if I'm not great at snatching, the idea of not choosing Olympic feels wrong. That's on so many levels, being that you're my best friend. Well, and also, let's be real, I was your intro to CrossFit, so I might have just slowly worked away at Olympic lifting as superior. I mean, ironically, you taught me to snatch 10 minutes before an open workout that involves snatch. Yes, I did. That's how I learned to snatch. So, yep. Irony. And you just PR'd your snatch. That's true. At 41. All right. Run, bike, or row? Bike. All day. I have long arms and short, thick legs. I love that bike. Yep. Wait, are we saying is it echo bike or erg bike? Does it matter? Doesn't matter. Okay. My legs have great power output, and anytime I can do something where my body weight isn't a factor, we're good. Yeah, I would choose bike mostly because I'm lazy, and that's only using one half of my body, really. So that's fair. Okay. All right. Time priority or task priority?
Oh, I love chippers. I feel like task priority.
I'm task priority too, but it's only because I'm a sprinter at heart. I like to know where the finish line is.
Yeah.
Or I guess,
yeah.
no, I'm sorry. Wouldn't that be a time priority? Force time?
I don't know. Task felt like a chip. Do we need to take the level 1 exam again?
Oh my God, I'm getting all sorts of brain parts here.
We're gonna flail.
No, I think so. For time, I believe is time or is like
to go fast.
Go for time. Yes, that's I like that where it's like Fran, love Fran because it's hey, you start here, you end here, go.
Yep. Yeah, I guess I'll go with that too.
Yeah, task priority is do this task as many times as you can.
Oh, but I like that sometimes too.
You're just in between.
Yeah. Okay.
This one's you're asking this one.
Ring muscle ups or bar muscle ups?
Hilariously enough, I hate bar muscle ups.
Same.
I really do.
Same.
I learned.
I've only done one really good one.
Everybody says that bar muscle ups are so much easier.
They're liars.
I've never once felt like bar muscle ups were.
No. No. I'm terrible at them. My arms just don't want to move that way.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I like being
the ability to open. It's the ability to open the shoulder with the rings that you don't have. With the bar.
I think it's the fact that I'm built like a bowling pin, and to lift my legs that high in a kip, and then just rely on my long arms to just let me go over. It's like, no, let me get my hips up there, and then turn it over and put that weight underneath me.
I would never categorize your body as a bowling pin, but now that you say it.
Right? Short, bowed legs, long arms, long torso. I'm like a bowling pin. Squat or deadlift?
Oh my God. Oh gosh. Squat.
Deadlift.
I'm a squat. Yeah, I figured.
Throwback to Outlaw Camp in 2013. Rudy
oh my gosh,
Outlaw was like, look at Nate. He's got short bowed legs and a long torso. The dude is built to hinge. And I'm just like, I don't really know if that was a backhanded compliment or not, but he's not wrong.
Just that moment where you're like, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just like, I mean, you're right, but all right. What's the next one?
115-pound barbell or a pair of 50-pound dumbbells.
Okay, I feel like this one's a trap. But
it is a trap.
Go ahead and say 115-pound barbell.
Yeah, considering it doesn't say what we're doing with it, and 50-pound dumbbells would crush me in anything but a deadlift, I'm going to have to go with the 150-pound barbell.
Well, I was going to say, hang on. If it was 115.50, it's 75.35.
Oh, thank you for scaling that.
Well, we gotta go respective classes here.
I was being all equality, so thank you for not killing me.
Sorry.
Pull-up bar or a rope to climb? Oh wait, that was supposed to be you.
No, it's all good. Okay, I honestly think I would, at this point, I would like the rope. I like the pull-up bar, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like the rope is so much more functional now.
I'm afraid of heights. Gonna go with the pull-up bar.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm horribly acrophobic.
Closer to a sub 6 minute mile or a 60-second L-sit?
I'm pretty sure I would go blind if I tried to run a sub 6 mile. So I'm going to go with 60-second L-sit.
Like I said, I'm built like a bowling pin. I think it would take me forever and a day to get 60 seconds accumulated in an L-sit, especially in a dip one. Hanging might have a chance. Dip, almost never. So I think sub 6 minute mile, because I have run a sub 6 minute mile. So I at least know the capability is there. Yeah, the fastest mile I've ever run was like 7:32, and I was so proud of myself. You'd think I was an Olympian the way I celebrated. Hey, it's freaking tough, man. Which would you rather have, a 300-pound bench press or a 200-pound shoulder press? I have both. So I don't have to choose. Mic drop. I have both. When you injure your back, all you can do is bench. So I don't know. I think I would like a bigger bench press. I don't know what those weights are scaled. I'm not great at math, but having a really heavy bench press would feel really great.
I think.
I feel like a good equivalent for you would just be a 1.5 body weight bench press.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would take that.
Right? That would be a pretty solid one. Because that's a little under what that is for me right now. But I think that's
I feel like a bench press in a conventional gym like Lifetime would be more impressive to the boys.
Throw a couple plates on there. Let's go. Let's get you 2 wheels on a bar and just start repping them out. If you could increase your capacity 20% in weightlifting, gymnastics, or monostructural, what would you choose?
Gosh, my heart wants to say gymnastics, but I always have felt like a weakling in weightlifting. So I'm going to go with weightlifting this round.
If I could put it just to 20% onto my snatch, so I could finally have hit a 300-pound snatch, that would be fantastic. But since it's the categories, I'm going to say gymnastics just because like 20% could go a long way for me in gymnastics.
I know. I feel like the impact of that would be so much bigger.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be a big ripple effect.
I like how we basically coupon clipped what's the best value in that one.
Okay.
Which do you fear more, a true 20 rep max back squat or a true 100% effort on an 800-meter run?
True 20 rep back squat, hands down. I've done both.
Oh, yeah.
I've done both of them.
Gross.
The true 20 rep max put me to where I was twitching on the ground and I couldn't keep my eyes from shutter twitching.
Neurologically, it just screws you up
disgusting.
So bad.
I think it was, I want to say it was around 3:30. It was right at the beginning of that cycle. I started with Gary and Charlie. And
oh gosh, that was a long time ago.
Feeling like my spine was bruised from having the weight on my back that long.
Yeah, accurate. The only time I've ever probably not done it to that level of effort, but close. Because let's face it, I always leave some in the tank. So,
would you rather have a full-time chef or a full-time body worker, masseuse, therapist?
Wait, so is it body worker, masseuse, or therapist?
It says full-time chef or a full-time body worker, masseuse, therapist. What they mean is like, would you rather have somebody prep your food or have somebody who helps take care of your body?
Oh, the latter, hands down.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm spoiled already with cooking and I just can't see that. I think we both have that in common. I know. I think... But the idea of getting a massage every day is like my Oprah, when I make it to Oprah wealth.
I don't even want to get a massage every day. I just want somebody else who is physically capable to stretch me. Like my hips and like my back and stuff. Like massage, sure. But I need somebody to just hang out while my hamstring is opening up for 30 to 60 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically that deep nerve in your glute.
Ugh. Stupid nerves.
Somebody just has to shove their finger in my butt.
Yep.
For every day, forever.
Pretty much. I'd take that any day over the food. Oh man. This is a good one. These are good.
Do you do rebounding box jumps or jump up and step down? I feel like
this 215 CrossFitter. If I rebound, I say goodbye to my Achilles.
I don't remember the last time I did a rebounding box jump.
I think I've done it like in like a speed scenario of like lateral and 20, but if it's a 24-inch box, 90% of the time there's no way I'm rebounding. There's just too much to risk.
I think I've been so scared into it. It's like the DARE program happened a couple years ago when we watched like several people rupture their Achilles. Yep. And like I think of it every time I go to do anything jumping. I'm like, what if this is the time?
Yep. No, it's we've seen enough. I'm okay. Yep. I'm okay stepping down.
Yep.
What is your ideal time to train in the day?
5:30 a.m. currently.
You're an animal.
No, it's just out of necessity.
Mine's always been that like early afternoon, between noon and 3, if I can get it in.
Yeah.
That's always been my favorite. End of the day,
that's second.
Too early in the day. But this is also from weightlifting, right? Like it's so hard. It was so hard for me to train heavy lifting early in the morning.
I still can't. But I was talking to Kristen about it today and we're both like, it has to happen before 3 p.m. or we're too tired.
That's fair.
So I feel like early morning because of my schedule, but as long as it happens before noon, I'm good.
All right.
How often do you not warm up or do you abbreviate the warm up?
Interestingly enough, right now, if anything, I feel like majority of my workout is my warm up.
Yeah.
Like I have to have, there's certain things I have to do. I have to warm up my hips. I have to have ER, IR on both my hips. I have to warm up my shoulders, internal, externals, all the stabilizers. I have to be sweating. And then at least like familiarize myself with movement. I probably, and everybody's gonna be like, oh, you should get a good effective warm up in 10 minutes. Okay, talk to me when you're my age with all these miles on me. Like half an hour to warm up minimum, and then I'm ready to go. But people who can just go in, do a 10-minute warm up, I don't understand you. I'm sorry.
Ouch, I don't feel seen now.
I'm sorry. My body is broken. I have done dumb stuff.
Yeah, I feel like your body is my brain. My brain is broken most of the time. I feel like I've given myself brain damage. But yeah, I'm not a great warmer upper. Lifetime is not a great place to warm up. If you see a squat rack open, you grab it and you try to do your best to warm up. But I've done a lot of very quick warm-ups in the past 2 years, but I'm very good about cool downs and I'm very good about after work. Because it's done then. So that's kind of where I'm at.
You take care of the body.
Yeah, as long as I feel nimble, I feel okay.
What extra gear do you use? Weight belt, knee wraps, wrist wraps, tape, compression, etc.
Honestly, the only thing I really use is hand grips.
I would say grips. I haven't had the need to use knee sleeves lately, just because I haven't pushed heavy weight. But yeah, I think grips, and then something I default to is something to stop sweat from getting in my hands.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I've used that a little bit, but honestly, it's just grips anymore. And,
No.
I'm not very fancy. Like I have a huge Noble gym bag and it's full of stuff and I just never get around to it. I've never used knee sleeves, so I don't know what those are like, but
they're nice for geriatric knees. Or bowed knees, one of the two.
Bowed knees.
Oh man. Just a few more.
Movement you struggle with the most?
Ooh, a lot isometric gymnastics. I really struggle with keeping my legs out in front of me. So like L-sit, pistol, all of that stuff is really, really tough for me. But that's, a testament to my low back issues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've gotten better at them, but it's just always been something that's a struggle.
Yeah. I didn't know that about you, but I wish I could fix that for you because it feels wonderful.
I think because I'm so used to pain in certain scenarios of like my own body, I think people would be shocked if it was like, here, let me share with you like this difficulty that I have to do every day, and just gave that like back and hamstring issues that I have. Cause like there's times when just the whole right leg is just like, it's kind of useless right now. So,
wow.
Yeah. But hey, I've deadlifted 510 pounds for a triple. So that's kind of cool.
It's looking on the bright side that matters.
Right, exactly. What about you? What do you struggle with?
My snatches are terrible. I avoid classes with snatches because I don't think people should see them. It's like cellulite. You're like, maybe not though.
I don't think you're as bad. Like, I think you're more critical than I would be about it.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's that movement for you, like Olympic lifts in general, because they can cost so much. Because you damage your wrist really bad with the clean. And then snatch is always that 50-50 of if it's going to piss that shoulder off.
Yep. I think it's timing. For me, it's a timing issue for sure. Mm-hmm. And it's never felt the way in my head. And as a coach, I know it should sequence.
Right.
And I feel it when I do it. I'm like, I know exactly where that went wrong, but I cannot make my body do the thing I think it should do.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I snapped my wrist trying to clean heavy after giving birth because Brooke Wells was snatching next to me.
We all do an ego move.
Sometimes we just don't make good decisions. I totally forgot about that.
We all do an ego move every now and then. It happens,
Oh, giving birth is tough mentally.
I have no doubt, and I will never ever say that I can do anything physically that holds a candle to it.
It's just the mental after of like, am I still me? Am I still you know, your body goes through so much and your mind is along for a ride that you're very much not in control of at times. I think is the only way I could describe it.
I think anybody who's gone through a pregnancy probably would agree with you. Like,
yeah.
Like I said, totally ignorant on it. And I will always forever love and respect anyone who chooses to do that to their body, because it is a massive taxation.
Yeah.
Toe to bar or knees to elbows?
Oh, toes to bar. I hate knees to elbow.
I've actually learned to love the knee to elbow a little bit more, only because I think toe to bar actually are really good at masking weak lower abs.
It's true. I had the discussion with somebody the other day.
I think it might have been us, because I was saying how we did that pre-fatigued lower ab piece in the gym and then had people doing toe to bar. And we had some of the people who were best at toe to bar get some of the lowest scores because we pre-fatigued the lower ab. And it was just amazing to see people who can do, you know, double digit toe to bar any set, any day. And then you give them a 30-second L sit and some hollow bodies and some like flutter kicks. And it just completely kills.
Decimates. Yep. It's real.
Yep.
It's completely
real. I
real.
like knees to elbow because that crunch of the midline is so much more forceful, and that you have to pull more into that lower ab.
Yep.
So
it feels like I'm literally pointing my body part at somebody. I think that's why. It's purely aesthetic that I don't love to do it. I'm like, and there's my butt, and there's my butthole, and there's like every time I do it, I'm like,
where like the heyday of wearing only leggings, like knee to elbow and just
well, and let's face it, some of those earlier years, the leggings were not as good as they are now.
My God.
Just saying,
dude.
I learned toes to bar real fast because I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like it.
That's hilarious.
It's TMI, but that's what goes on in my brain every day.
I think it's perfect. I think it's hilarious. You know, there are other people with that inner dialogue.
Oh yeah, it's literally Jerry Seinfeld, but me inside my head, like of why things are weird and why I won't do them, and it makes no logical sense.
Oh my God! All right, this next.
Do you have more?
I'm very curious about for you.
Do you have more CrossFit shirts or non-CrossFit shirts? Oh well, that's easy. I never buy clothes for myself, so the only clothes I have are CrossFit shirts.
I have so many CrossFit shirts that a good chunk of them are now Kelsey's relaxation sleep shirts or like hangout lazy shirts.
I'm pretty sure I need to burn half of mine because they're that bad.
Oh,
I'm like, dude, I shouldn't go out in public in this shirt anymore.
I can't tell you the last time I was in a medium shirt, and I still have probably a dozen of them that are CrossFit.
I've got a couple of Neil's old ones that have been handed down. So
they're like badges. Yeah. They're so cool. I've had CrossFit shirts from different parts of the world that I've never been to, it's so cool. It's like a flag that you know you got.
I have the original gray and pink from my level 1 still.
I have my original level 1 because it wasn't when they handed out level 1 shirts. It was when they handed out the past games shirts. So 2008 CrossFit Games shirt of like the gray and black of them running up the hill.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I have our purple CrossFit United shirt too.
Oh. God.
The original. Oh, it's gross. I don't actually wear it. It's just I have it. I can't get rid of that. Of course.
That's like the columns one with the gold print. That's one of my favorite shirts to this day.
I still have my first CrossFit shoes. That's how sentimental I am.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I had to get rid of most of those because they were just.
Yeah, I threw away the Vibrams.
Okay.
Because I was in the Vibrams era when I joined.
I had Vibrams and Sambas.
We all had Vibrams. Yep, I remember the Sambas.
All right, last one, and I like this one because we talk a lot about nutrition lately. Favorite cheat meal or food you have no willpower with?
Gosh, I mean, there's so many.
There are.
I don't have a lot of willpower with quite a few foods. One I did think of today that I was like, oh yeah, Andes with brownies in it.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Warm brownie, cold ice cream.
Oh, that's a solid one.
Yeah.
Only because it was during a specific time of competing. So, and I consider this a cheat meal, and this was one of the almost like last meals I'd ever refer to as a cheat meal because I don't like that term now.
I don't like cheat meal.
Neither do I. But what I would do, this was around the competition season when I was eating 650 grams of carbs in a day on certain days. there were certain weekends we would go to BJ's Brew House. It's a chain, and they have something called a Pizookie.
Okay, say more.
A small, like, cake pan that they freshly baked. That was a cookie, so a pizza cookie, and they would bring it out, and then fresh ice cream on top, all the other stuff. I always got the campfire one, which was s'mores. So it would be s'mores cookie, marshmallow fluff, ice cream, and just all the stuff on top. Me and Ian used to get that before we go see movies. It was, I think the one that I got was around 1,500 calories.
Oh my God.
Yeah. One dessert.
Yeah. It's something about the combination, because we used to make that at Chase Park Plaza when I worked in St. Louis. It was like homemade cookies right out of the oven, and then the ice cream on top. There's just something about that. And it's the same with brownies or blondies or whatever. It's the idea of like the textures and the temperature difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's where it's at.
That's some good stuff. I like ours. I like how of all the fitness things, like one thing we have shared in common is I want a dessert with ice cream. Like
it's gonna give me the worst gastrointestinal stress after. But I don't care. Yeah, no. It's gonna destroy me.
I got lactate in my bag. I'll take the edge off. All right.
I'll just lay on the couch.
CrossFit impromptu CrossFit Open episode.
Yep. You guys are going to do great. It's going to be fun. I'm so excited this year.
Have fun. Don't take it too seriously. Like, give it your best effort, recover, and when it's all said and done, the dust settles, use it as a cool evaluation point and memory. Don't let it carry you and follow you around. That one open workout that, you regret, unless you almost lose your best friend over it.
Yeah. I mean, ironically, I don't remember most of my actual results. I just remember how I felt after.
I remember a lot of my results.
Okay, well, you're not helping this argument at all.
But I also was an unhealthy competitor for the majority of the time.
I was going to say, I've always been just mediocre and average.
So, but yeah, that's enjoy the Open. I think CrossFit has made some moves recently that keep this format hopefully on the same that it will be, and I think the Open is going to continue to get bigger and better, and we're going to see some of the glorious type days of signups, but with a brand that is very forward thinking and proactive, especially with social media. So
yes, sir.
Yeah. All right.
Stay
positively jacked.